Welcome to Driving Product-Led Growth and Innovation in B2B SaaS. One way to think about anything as a service business, and especially a software as a service business, is that it really has several core levers of the business. One is to drive growth via product innovation. A second is to drive revenues via business model innovation. And a third lever is to optimize and improve the bottom line via reduction in churn and with higher renewal rates. So this session, we're going to go into those topics in some detail, and I'm sure we'll delve into some other probably controversial topics, as I'm delighted to be joined by Paul Lynch, the CEO of Chargify. Paul is one of the more passionate voices in billing and monetization today, and we are keen to hear his latest views here on the Monetize Forum stage. Welcome, Paul.
Andrew, thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. So we've seen a big shift from the arrival of the subscription economy to today's demand for a much broader set of capabilities. And the hot topic of the moment is the so-called usage economy, or the shift towards consumption-based models. You've been in this business a long time. What have you seen in terms of the shifting requirements, and where do you see that headed 2 to 3 years from now?
It's a great question, and a really sort of interesting area, not just for billing and finance, but right across the whole B2B SaaS, B2C SaaS ecosystem. There has been a shift, and it's been a quantum shift. It's not new. We've been seeing it for several years. When we saw Zora initially come into the market, they came in with a great sort of macro message of, powering the subscription economy. This concept that, businesses no longer were prepared to tie up large amounts of CapEx in enterprise software products, get through a depreciation cycle with hardware vendors where you're buying a big set of IBM SANs and servers or HP SANs and servers and going to an enterprise software company, buying your software outright for a couple of $1 million and then having a maintenance contract on top of it for somewhere between 18 and 24% year-on-year maintenance. And then 3 years down the line, starting all over again. This whole concept of going, a pipe onto the web, B2B SaaS, and then maintaining that going forward in that fashion. That shift happened 10 years ago. We're now moving, as you say, away from that kind of subscription-based model where you pay for what you deploy, it's a set monthly charge, into being a truly value-led pricing model. And that's around usage, that's around consumption, that's around utility. So yeah, look, this is the disruptive force that's entering our space. By our space, I mean SaaS. And consumers, they're more discerning today than they ever have been. There are more channels in terms of marketing and advertising that are hitting them on a day-by-day basis. They won't have the wool pulled over their eyes, so to speak. They want real value. They demand real value. And if you don't deliver value into the consumers of today, then those consumers aren't going to maintain business with you for a long period of time. You're building a sandcastle that's going to fall down as soon as your customers realize that you're gouging them. And by gouging them, you're not offering them true value-based pricing.
So when you talk about kind of driving product-led growth, what's involved in that? Is that more about, spending more on R&D and product development, or is there something else in terms of helping to drive product-led growth?
So the short answer is yeah, it's way more than just R&D, and it's way more than just investing in an engineering kind of function within your business. And don't mistake product-led growth or product-led innovation to drive growth. Don't mistake it for being a closed kind of silo ecosystem as a business where you're only interested in the product. This needs to maintain product-led growth and product innovation-led growth. It's very different to just investing all your money in product and slowing up your MVP. You pinpointed 3 different areas in terms of levers where you can drive growth and success within businesses. This is one of them, right? It's around talking to your customers, talking to the market, understanding the market, okay? Not innovating in a bubble or developing products in a bubble. Truly knowing where your customers want you to go. It's communication, communication, communication. You know, if your customer will tell you what they want, you just need to open your ears and listen, which, as weird as that sounds and as simplistic as that sounds, I mean, there are so many businesses that we see that don't listen to their customers. They don't ask for their opinion, and they have this concept, you know, where they know better than the customer, so they'll innovate in areas where they feel the customer will require it without talking to them.
So let's talk about the billing and monetization market in particular. A lot of the companies in the space, as we see it, really spend a lot of time marketing their product features and functions.
Yeah.
And yet, as you just pointed out, finding success, especially in billing, is a lot more than that. It's the implementation, it's setting up your product catalog, it's maintaining that product catalog. There's constant change in a monetization environment. It's adding additional payment methods, rating modalities, kind of an endless stream of integrations. So how do you think, putting that in context of it's not just about product, if we talk about it in terms of what does it take to make a customer successful through billing, what's involved? How do you think about overall customer success beyond just what's in your product?
It's a really, really broad question, Andrew. So let me try to tackle this like I'm eating an elephant, you know, one bite at a time. Okay. So, you know, the first sort of you know, around your customers and around your business, right? And in terms of how you grow it and how you evolve it, okay? Go back to the most basic of sort of statements around, you know, it's not the strongest of the species that survives. It's the one that's the most adaptable to change. Businesses in ever-changing and evolving markets need to be adaptable to change. And that change is going to be driven by what their customers demand, you know? The businesses, unless you're a giant powerhouse of a company that completely dominates an industry, you're going to need to be adaptable to the changing ecosystem in which you're operating, okay? Because you can't dictate it, okay? So that's the first thing, right? So like listening to your customers and asking, you know, what do they want? And then adapting to these changing requirements, right? A great example of this, not going to the flavor of the month, is COVID. I mean, COVID has created an awful lot of change within the market. Buying cycles have changed, customer perceptions have changed, levels of importance have changed, access to capital has changed. So the businesses that are succeeding throughout COVID are those that are adapting to their customers' needs. Okay, so how do you adapt? You adapt by way of product-led innovation. So you need to irk or change your product to support what your merchants or your customers are requiring from you as a billing and monetization engine. Okay, so this is about listening. This is about, you know, listening to the customer, understanding what they require, and then innovating in those kind of areas, but not being dictated to by individual customers who may have power in your base. Okay, and if you do that, for the record, in my opinion, everything else follows suit. Where businesses run into difficulty around customer success management, customer support, is by not listening to their customers, by presuming that they know more about their customers' business than their customers do. Okay, so you know, when I mention COVID, I talk about a huge event that happened that drives businesses to look inward and look at their processes, look at their policies. Okay, where I see billing and monetization, for the last 10 years, we've been operating in an enormously buoyant economy. Very buoyant. So what's by that, we're seeing B2B SaaS companies, we're seeing new companies, new startups, we're seeing B2C tools. There's a huge growth market around subscriptions. So lots of companies haven't felt this requirement to need to innovate. I mean, the tide has been going up. So it was enough that you could just jump onto the water and then your boat's going to go up with it. Not anymore. Things are changing. I mean, you look at, and then whenever anything changes, you know, and there's shifts, you have winners and you have losers. So like, look at the particular area where we focus, which is B2B SaaS, right? In this changing, evolving economy, who's winning and who's losing? The winners are the companies that are really, really engaging value-based pricing. Businesses like Twilio that don't charge you for access to an SMS gateway, but charge you on a granular level down to the very last, the very singular sort of unit that you consume. SendGrid, Mailgun, businesses that are adopting this whole value pricing methodology and living it as opposed to just talking about it. I mean, the big daddy of all of these companies is Amazon Web Services. They changed the world in 2006 when they launched events-based billing. They called it something different. But it was basically paying down to the last API call, the last movement of data between S3 and EC2, the last compute cycle. Whereas all the traditional hosting companies build you for what you deployed, they build you down to what you used, and they won. So, my view around product-led innovation in our space is this is where the innovation is happening. We're looking at the market, we're seeing clear winners emerging. Twilio, SendGrid, Datadog, Amazon Web Services, E-Trade. These are businesses that are embracing utility-based billing down to the last event. And because of it, their merchants are seeing that real value and they're beginning to pull away from the posse. That's where you innovate.
So what else in terms of event-based models? It's one thing just to have the rating capability to be able to rate events and bill for those. What else is necessary? What else should people be thinking about when they go towards that kind of model?
Well, when you get into the rating engines and the multi-attribute based nature of this, you're getting very technical and specific into the product. I would take it up a level before I go there, and I would say what you need to be cognizant of is your customers' business process and billing models. You need to ensure that what you're innovating and what you're solving for is a problem that they actually have. I don't think we're in a position now around utility usage, events-based billing where we need to inform the customers. I think they know, I think anyone who's ever used Amazon Web Services, as frustrated as they may have been at the get-go, where there was non-real predictability to what their bill would be, they understand entirely that it's value-led, So it's around, rather than, yes, you need multi-attribute based sort of components to your event-based billing. Using to explain it for those that mightn't be aware of what that is, not enough that you're charging per SMS message, but you want 5 attributes in there. So it's SMS message, it's origination, it's destination that it's going, it's payload, be it a flat HTML file or be it a video file that's going out there, time of day, different calls for nighttime versus daytime. So really getting into the multi-attributes and showing that from a value perspective. That's what's key here. And demonstrably showing to your customer or your merchant, if you're a billing and monetization company, that this is where they can win. Because we don't need to inform them anymore as to what this is. People understand usage, batch-based billing. They understand mediation services and aggregators. It's around showing how they can be successful in their market with their customers if they adopt this kind of billing methodology to show real value.
So let's talk about Chargify in particular. You guys have made a real investment, a real choice, a bet, if you will, on event-based billing. And you've also rolled out a number of partnerships in other areas across the kind of the monetization platform, if you will. How do you think about the trade-off between where you're going to make acquisitions or deep product investments versus the areas where you want to partner? What should we be thinking about or looking for from you guys over the next couple of years in terms of both maybe more acquisitions or more partnerships?
We're open to partnerships certainly in every area. Okay, where do I really not want to invest? I feel that sort of payments market, you've got lots of strong players and there are lots of choices. We integrate specifically into 26 different payment gateways. So I feel it's something that we've covered off pretty well as far as our customer base is concerned. We might do some further small innovations in that area. As far as functionality at our core, what is Chargify? What should every CEO and CFO know about Chargify? We're your partner if you're a B2B SaaS company in the area of complex billing and product catalog management. That's it. You know what I mean? We're not going to be Stripe. Stripe is, Stripe aren't going to be us. They're an amazing company and they're going to drive Irish, and they're going to drive further into probably banking, and that's the direction I see this business taking. I don't want to go up there and compete, or go down there, or wherever direction we talk about, and compete against them in terms of paybacks. You know what I mean? I don't want to get into like overly hot into, different areas that are non-core to billing. I know what we do well. We do very well around complex billing scenarios. That's where we'll innovate, and that's where our customers, that's where our merchants want us to innovate, and offer real value in terms of these guys that can go out to their customers and they can show, look, it's value-based pricing. We're helping you in this area. Let's drive that. I've been in the chair here, as you know, Andrew, for about 2 years. I mean, one of the reasons I was so excited about this opportunity when it arose for me was that I felt there's been an enormous, egregious lack of innovation in this area. I mean, lots of the billing companies have rested on their laurels, and they've looked at Zora, and Zora's done nothing. They coined the expression, the subscription economy, then they moved to sales and market their product. They haven't had a product-led, innovation-led growth strategy, in my opinion. And that's not, they're a great company. I mean, I don't want to come across as being deprecating towards the guys. They're doing great things, but it's not been great around innovation. I feel there is a position in this market for an emergent, strong player that's well capitalized with great growth like Chargify to really leap away from the market by offering innovative tools, innovative billing services that aren't in the market at the moment to drive growth for our merchants. That's where we win.
So one last question here. You guys have kind of carved a role that's independent of, you're kind of the Switzerland, or taking a Swiss approach in terms of you're independent of Salesforce, independent of Microsoft, independent of any of the big platforms. Do you think that's a viable strategy going forward, or at some point do you feel like you've got to get closer to one of the big platform companies? I mean, it could even be Amazon. Nobody's really innovated on Amazon billing. Why not? So where do you guys see in terms of alignment with the major platforms?
So I think our position, it's a very well succinct kind of analogy, Andrew. I mean, being the Switzerland, I don't think we need to. I had a question asked of me by a journalist last week, and he said, why did Amazon not take this underlying billing technology and release it to the market? It's a really good question, and one I don't really have an answer for. The next time I'm having tea with Jeff Bezos, I must ask him. I think it's difficult. I think these kind of billing scenarios and these kind of complexities that we're looking to solve for are hard to do. I think the likes of Amazon and Salesforce, they're brilliant because they have great focus in certain areas. Amazon is the best IT managed, best online store, the best logistics kind of backend engine, the best sort of infrastructure as a service play. Do they really want to get into billing? I don't think so. The likes of Salesforce, great around CRM, they know where they're winning. How long will we maintain a sort of a neutral type of position in the market? I think as long as it makes sense. I think at a certain point, if the opportunity arose that we could get into sort of above, higher hyper growth than we're currently at, yeah, it's definitely something we'd consider. But it's not in the plans yet. I mean, what we want to do now is build relevant, disruptive products. We want to release those to our merchants. We want our merchants to utilize them. We want to drive adoption. And we're seeing great growth from that strategy. Aligning ourselves to one particular player in the market right now really makes no sense to us. Let's just continue to operate as we're doing, grow the business, and drive value.
Terrific. Well, Paul, thanks very much for your time today, and thanks everyone for joining us. Paul and the team, I know, will be available at the booth for today and throughout the Monetize Forum. And so with that, thank you everyone, and enjoy the rest of the forum.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Andrew. All the best.